we're making sure that, again, that second suspect is the one that's down. There was gun fires that people heard, like a pop, 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 pop. And there's been a lot of reports that it is the second suspect. But we're, again, confirming that with, again, many sources, so we bring you accurate information. Okay, in the meantime, we want to welcome Pat Connolly, who's a retired FBI special agent. And you're going to help us break this down and help us understand what's going on. What are the FBI doing, especially now that they heard gunfire? Do you, in fact, think, as you've been in the newsroom with us, you've been watching the live video, do you think it's the suspect? In your experience?
I don't know. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, let's confirm, let's make sure we know what we're talking about, because clearly that's going to be obviously a very important break in the case here. I would just point out, though, I mean, that even if it is, I mean, it ain't over. I mean, there's going to be an enormous amount of things that continue to have to be done.
Tell us about that.
Well, for one, anytime you have an officer-involved shooting, you're going to have an investigation, fairly substantial investigation. And number two, we want to find out, I am sure, what the motivation is, whether there was any connection to any other groups or any other people. So those things won't stop. So what is percolating up really is just the tip of an iceberg. That iceberg is just thousands of agents, law enforcement officers at all levels. Probably the untold story here is the level of cooperation that Boston has had, and the ability for agencies to work together and to communicate together.
Have you ever seen anything like this? I haven't ever seen anything like this.
I have to say I have. I mean, San Diego is renowned. San Diego.
But in a situation like this, have we had a situation like this?
San Diego has been renowned for having great cooperation between folk. But what you're seeing now is after 9/11, interoperability. We actually are able to communicate with each other. We actually trained together. The way that they divvied up the sectors was not a mistake. That was all planned. The way they are getting information, I am sure, into an intelligence or investigative cell is planned, and it takes a lot of work to get that done. So I take my hat off to all of those law enforcement officers.
I mean, they got these guys fast. And I know that a lot of that came from people wanting to help as well, sending in pictures and video, right?
You just had a segment on social media. Social media has really changed the landscape of criminal investigations, intelligence investigations, and clearly media can be an extremely good asset with something like this. Also, we have to watch it. I mean, sometimes we don't want things out because for a variety of reasons.
The suspect might act a way that you wouldn't want them to otherwise, right?
We don't want them to know where we are.
That's right.
You know, I mean, so there's lots of reasons why you have to balance these things out. So,
okay, can we keep you here for a little bit?
Sure.
Because we love your expertise and your background, obviously. We want to bring you a better perspective on the ongoing events in Boston. We welcome Pat Connolly, who's a retired FBI special agent, and so much more. I mean, you have such extensive background in this kind of deal. It's amazing. So what do you've been here, you've been watching the live footage. You kind of give us an update now. Again, so they think that they have the suspect, or that there have been reports. We haven't been able to verify that yet. What happens now?
Well, I think, as I said before, I mean, it ain't over till it's over, so they're going to want to make sure they get a firm identity of the individual, and clearly there's still other issues that they have to run to ground. One, were there other associates? What the motivation?
Very important.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're going to have their hands full for a good period of time. They've got several crime scenes that are going to have to be processed, and the processing of those crime scenes has to be methodical. There may or may not be a criminal investigation, but to the extent that there is, they've got to start being concerned after the manhunt. Their first priority is protecting lives and protecting civilian lives, but after that, making sure that they do evidence collection and the rest of it that's involved in criminal investigations.
You know, on a superficial level, all the information that's been given to us so far, it shows that they, for whatever reason, became radicals, right? So you would speculate that there would be other people involved? I mean, how often would two brothers, I mean, how likely would it be that they would just be acting on their own and there wouldn't be anybody else involved?
There are clearly many people that are taking a look at those issues. Once we know the motive, the chances of them of being alone it's debatable. We had a concept called lone wolf. It was really came from the 50s with domestic terrorist groups, and since the international terrorists have kind of adopted that, where they know that the less people that you have involved in this, the less vulnerable you are to infiltration by law enforcement. But I think it's too soon to say. But I do know this, that there's lots of people working in this country and around the world trying to understand exactly what happened here.
You know, we haven't confirmed if it's the suspect or not. We don't even know if there's been anybody else injured, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
Tell us the different scenarios that could have gone on with the gunshots.
Well, again, it's difficult to say from here.
We'll just speculate,
yeah.
you know, not obviously
Well,
we can't say for sure.
I don't want to get ahead of any investigations, obviously, but I mean, you can speculate that it was the second suspect. You can, if that second suspect was seen making contact with other people, you're going to want to make sure that you know who they are. That you interview them. We talked about social media before. Social media is going to be checked. All the kind of contacts that have been made by either of the brothers, and then all of the folks that they had contact with, I am sure are going to be looked at. Because if there is a connection, if there is an international connection, clearly that's important, and clearly policymakers and others will have to make some decisions about that.
Yeah, geez. How long do you think it's going to, speculation, I know, guesstimate.
Right.
How long do you think this is going to wrap up? I mean, I know that there's going to be ongoing investigations to see if there's anybody else involved. And you know, forensic investigations, whatnot, but we are waiting to find out, to confirm that it is the suspect, to bring them out, at least to have that closure, so people in Boston, Watertown can at least sleep better tonight, right?
Well, I think there's two separate issues here. They may be able, with confirmation, they may be able to sleep better. You have other issues about stress and kids and, you know, the things that the neighbors have gone through. But clearly the investigation, whether it's an intelligence investigation or a criminal investigation, always takes too long. It will always take longer than you think it will. And probably for good reason, because I know all the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the Boston Police, they all want to make sure this is comprehensive and thorough, and that takes time.
So at this point, again, gunshots were heard. They're speculating it's the suspect and he's down, but who knows? It could have been anybody.
We don't know.
We don't know.
You're in a very tense time, and in tense times, things happen.
He's a kid. He's a 19-year-old kid. It breaks my heart to see somebody act this violent. It's just so sad.
I wouldn't classify him as a kid. He's a 19-year-old
I
young
know,
man.
but I have a 19-year-old daughter, so maybe from a mother's standpoint. Right. Obviously, he's an adult.
And
but
clearly,
it is very sad.
there will be people who will be looking at that. I mean, maybe it's not him, and maybe if it's not him, you still want to reach out. You know, nobody really wants to kill people. To the extent that you can get someone alive and get intelligence from them, that clearly is the preferable way.
Correct.
So people will be profiling him, and should they have an opportunity, we'll try to find some type of hook that they can have him come in.
I have to tell you, I'm so impressed the way the FBI handled this whole investigation, you know?
You know,
from the moment the explosions went off.
I don't want to keep repeating this, but this was a joint operation. And the story, and it'll be told later on, but the story is that agencies with different missions, different people, different traditions and honor, you know, they are working together. And it's not, you don't do that by accident. That takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment. They've done a lot of exercises, and I think we may see the result of that today. Yeah.
Well, you know, we're just hanging on here by our fingernails at the edge of our seat. We want the man caught. We don't want any more violence. We want to see if there's, you know, how we protect the rest of our citizens, right? To make sure there's nobody else involved. It's hard to believe that they would come up with this on their own, but it's not, you know, it's also probable, I guess. I don't know.
There's lots of folks. If you take a look at, you know, what we traditionally call domestic terrorist groups, and take a look at international terrorist groups, this type of scenario would not be one that would be unthinkable. I might take a look at the nature of the explosions and the targets, etc., and wonder how professional it is. But that's for another day.
Yeah, I mean, look at your background. You're an attorney. You're a former state prosecutor, and you retired FBI special agent and a U.S. Army veteran. I mean, hello. Is there anybody else that would be better sitting next to me talking about this? No.
There's lots of folks. There really are.
You're
There
being
really are.
humble,
Yeah.
but we're very honored and very thankful that you are here to give us some light on what's going on. You know, again, what was surprising to me is as soon as they lifted the ban, right, the lockdown, then the gunshots went off. Can you make sense of that? Because I can't wrap my head around that for some reason.
No, no, but inevitably things happen when you don't expect them to happen. I mean, and so you have to actually be ready for that. And it seems to me that the agencies were ready for it because
Yeah,
they
like I
quickly
feel like could it be
responded.
part of their plan to give the suspect maybe an idea that okay, we're backing off?
I will
and-
speculate on this. My
Right.
speculation is
I
not.
love you. Just we know that you're just speculating. You know that's good.
I would say not, because I don't think that those folks there would put the public at risk. So I think they
Good
would
point.
immediately say, we're not going to do that. So
Good point, because like that mother was saying earlier, we heard on the news that she was on lockdown, she couldn't leave her house, and then when they lifted the lockdown, she went to the store,
Right.
left the family at home, and then when the gunshots went off, she couldn't get back to her family.
right.
Okay, for me as a mom, I would go nuts.
Well, then you know the
Yeah.
stress. You know
Yeah.
the stress that
Yeah.
those folks are under right now, and that's something that I know that the mayor and the governor and the public health folks are going to be cognizant of, and they're not going to be gone from those neighborhoods. I suspect they're going to have a presence there.
And that's really
for a while.
important, it's,
Yeah.
you know, especially for the children. And, you know, children everywhere see this kind of thing, you know, whether it's Sandy Hook or whatever,
correct.
and they worry about their safety. And what I always tell my daughters is like, okay, most people are good. And there are some that are bad, but most people are good. There's a very small percentage that are bad. So you can't live in fear. And and I was so happy that they found these guys right away. So I was so happy to tell my daughters,
Right.
see how fast they acted. They're here to protect us.
Right.
And
Well, if this is confirmed, and that's still an if, and nobody else has been injured, I mean, we've already had carnage at the massacre. We had a young police officer from MIT who was killed. So no matter what, it will still be a tragedy. But if this has completed without any further loss of life or injury, that will be understandably a
How,
good
I
thing.
don't, you know, they put this bag, and there's that poor little 8-year-old boy, right, bam, right in front of this 8-year-old boy, took his life. I mean, killed 2 other women as well, young women, took
Right.
their lives.
Right.
But I just can't understand the mindset. Can you help me with that? I mean, you've been around these people, you've done investigations. I don't get it. How could you take someone's life like that?
Again, we'll
especially
have to
child?
wait to see what the motivation is.
Yeah.
If this is 2 individuals, no matter what the motivation is, it is terror. In my view, terror for me is a term of art. You know, we could talk about the law if you want to and the statutes and all, but it's a term of art.
Are you saying art?
Art, it's a term of art, and in this respect, that you know, terror itself is not just a legal problem. It's what people try to do to populations, to society, and clearly, wherever this came from, you know, setting off a bomb, an explosive device like that, at the marathon was clearly designed, in my view, for terror. In that respect, it's a terrorist act. Now, we can discuss whether it's domestic terrorism or international terrorism, and all those are important issues, but I don't think we should get away from the fact this was an act of terror.
Yeah. Well, I would like to discuss what those different type of terrorist acts look like when we come back, because I mean anything's possible, but to educate us and the difference would be great. We're going to take a quick break. Again, we're keeping our eye on this live video. We're not going anywhere. We're going to bring you all the latest developments. We'll be right back. Now we're back with Pat Connolly, who's a retired FBI agent. He was also a former state prosecutor, a U.S. Army veteran, an attorney, and the fact that you're a former FBI special agent is really big, considering that the FBI agency is the one in charge with all this, even though they've worked with all the agencies really well, obviously. So how exciting, I mean, right now we're getting new developments every minute, right?
Right.
And we were talking about, we're going to keep that video on so we don't miss a beat for you guys, but we were talking before we went to break what the difference is in particular with you know, international terrorism, national terrorism, and what that looks like. Because right now it could be either, right?
Yeah, it could be either.
It could be either.
You know, a couple of years ago or many years ago, it was easy to say what was an international terrorist group and what was a domestic terrorist group, and now those lines are being a little bit fuzzy. We have people that are U.S. citizens that are members of Al-Qaeda. You know, so they may be raised here in the United States. So what does that make it? Does that make it international or domestic? In many respects, it really has to do with the kind of techniques that might be available to you. But I should say, we were talking about bombings before, that if you take a look at terrorism through history, and now I'm a professor, so I have time to take a look at it through history.
Now, and add that to your resume, a professor.
But if you take a look at it, bombing has been, and probably always will be the primary mode used by terrorist groups because it is terrifying. The notion that all of a sudden that your life can be disrupted.
They're creating terror.
It's
That's
terror.
what they want. Well, I mean, gosh, you know, they're over here. The one kid, people keep saying, I don't know how he could do something like this. He was such a great student. He was so, you know, peaceful and loving. And
yeah, you know, New York Police Department's done an outstanding job, and they had a report a couple of years ago that looked at the radicalization process. And it'll be interesting to find out, and I know my former colleagues and other folks are looking at this now, what was the radicalization process, if that is the motivation.
They are saying that.
Yeah. If that is the case, generally radicalization requires people more than one person.
A group, a subculture.
So that's what they're looking at. They're trying to make sure that everyone that's associated with this is identified.
Any chance the father is involved at all? Because I talked to one person before I came into work today, and they said they automatically assumed the father was involved and he was a terrorist as well, because he said, if you shoot my son, then you're going to pay, or, you know, I'm not going to say the bad words, but basically everybody's going to pay if they shoot his son. Like, who talks that way?
Yeah, I'm not going to discount anything here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Keith, who was a special agent in charge right before I retired, I think he hit the nail on the head. The father is probably under a lot of emotional stress right now.
Yeah.
So I think, as a lot of people,
yeah, I probably would say the same thing if they had my daughter.
So you want to cut them a little bit of slack. On the other hand, you're not gonna discount that.
I had a woman once tell me, when a man says something, believe him. You know, don't go, oh, he doesn't mean it. You know, you can't discount anything, especially in a situation like this.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
we can say he's upset and he's trying to save his kid's life, but on the other hand, he might be behind all this. We don't know.
You have extremely professional folks that are involved in this, and they're going to listen to people, but trust but verify. They're going to be corroborating every piece of information that they have. Undoubtedly, you have people right now. I saw it at 9/11. San Diego, we had a lot of work here. You have people been working around the clock. They will probably have to be ordered to go home because they don't want to leave their mission. It is really, underneath the surface, an unbelievable process.
What are you saying? Clarify that for me. You have people here working. Like, are they stationed here, or did they go over to Boston to help?
Well, in this particular case, you have people worldwide. I am sure.
It's like a grid, right? So you have all your checkpoints.
Well, you're going to have a major commitment in Boston. You're going to have an enormous number of they call them different things, but operations centers, forward operating command posts, you know, that will be in control of some of the tactical operations. And hopefully it all feeds back into an intelligence and a investigative unit, a cell, that will, out of that cell, you'll have teams of people. Every investigation has its own rhythm, its own needs, and I'm sure what they've done is they've grown the teams into the areas that have been identified during the course of the investigation. And that doesn't go away. Even if this is the individual, that's not going to go away.
I gotta tell you, I would see that boat and think, of course he's there. Because if I was a kid, that's where I would hide, right?
It's after the fact is always easy.
Yeah.
I don't know from that picture, you know, where that boat was. You don't know whether it was actually cleared at one point in time. And he's been, you know, going from place to place. You just don't know.
the Watertown Chief of Police has confirmed that all the activity, the gunfire, all of this is considered, it's all around the second suspect. So.
Was there a confirmed death?
Was there a confirmed death? They are not confirming any death. As far as we know, he's still alive. That's all we know right now. But again, because we're a multi-level media platform, we have different media platforms, right? So we're able to connect like our own grid, like the FBI agency, right? And check out and verify all our sources to make sure when we do report it's accurate. Good. So we're going to take a break. Unless you have something that you can add right now, knowing that it is, all this activity is indeed around the suspect.
No, the only thing I can add is confirm, is say the same thing that you said, and that it's good for you to wait for confirmation to make sure that that's exactly the case. And I would just say the job is not over. The job's not over. You're going to have hundreds, thousands of men and women who are going to be continuing to try to put this together, so we know exactly.
And I think as a public, we have to think that it's not over, and to have your eyes open, your ears open, to help the agencies. You know, it's really important.
Absolutely.
There's can be other, you know, who knows how many other suspects are involved.
You know, the citizens really are the eyes that we have here. I mean, we can talk about video cameras and we can talk about all kind of other surveillance techniques, but the point of fact is civilians are the ones that know, they know their neighborhood, they know when something is different in their neighborhood, and they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to spot trouble.
There's power in numbers. We stick together like glue. Thank you. We got to take a quick break. We're not going anywhere. We'll be right back with more news.